This talk will be more than 3 hours. Just kidding. It's a presentation I gave in an international conference, modified slightly. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment, to make a decision. Now, you can easily tell which one is fake, but in other issues, it's a bit more complicated. So when we go to a circus, when a kid goes to a circus and sees this man performing, they might believe that it's true, or they might believe that it's not true. And the parents can help, of course, but how do you know that this can happen without bleeding? You probably use your knowledge from other sciences, such as biology. How do you know that people cannot bend spoons like Uri Geller, if you remember? This guy was a crook, he is a crook, because he doesn't tell people, look, I'm going to do a trick. He tells them that he has metaphysical powers given from aliens and stuff. So there's a difference between magicians and crooks. Democritus said there are two forms of knowledge. One is legitimate and the other is bastard. The latter form includes our senses, sight, hearing, smell, taste. So what is he saying? That these are senses, what we see, hear, smell, taste, are not as accurate. It's a bastard form of knowledge. So let's start with this argument that if we see something, or if we experience something, or if we smell something, it may not be true, despite the fact that most people will swear using their experiences and say, I've seen it with my own eyes. It happened to me. I tried it and it worked. So Democritus, 2,500 years ago, says, no, be careful. This may not be true. So what is true? And how do we form our beliefs? What sort of evidence do we use? We use evidence by others, and we use evidence that we find and select, and we try to evaluate this evidence. The factors that the sources of knowledge include personal experience, and let me remind you quickly that Democritus said that this is not very valid, very always valid, reliable. We see what others are doing, or they tried this and therefore it should be good. For TV advertisements, observing people in environment, etc. Smoking starts like this. So the sources of the knowledge, what we read day by day, influence the output. And you're familiar with this, garbage in, garbage out. A lot of people are stuck in their beliefs because they're reading garbage. So now you're going to ask me, what is garbage? How do you find out what is true and what is correct? And that's the subject of today's presentation. Theory of knowledge is the set of rules that we follow to decide what to believe and what to discard. Wessam, you totally believed in Uri Geller, right? A lot of us did. Yeah. Where do we get our knowledge? A number of sources, a lot of sources, including prophecies, including Twitter, superstitions, fables. Some of it is true. For some of it, we are unsure. And some of it may be completely false, although we are unaware that it is false. Now, how big is the problem? Is it new? No, it's not. You see advertisements here from earlier ages, decades, selling material that could be true or could not be true. Fish oil. Cigarettes were once promoted to be good. Some of you may recognize this picture because